Hey everyone, I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it to the meeting, but I just want to demo a couple tools for you that have become popular over the past month. The first one is Claude 2. Claude 2 is becoming increasingly popular, A, because it's free, uh, and also because it is becoming as sophisticated almost as the paid version of ChatGPT, and also because you can upload files to it, which is a real game changer for a lot of people. So let's say, for instance, we wanted to go to the Springfield Technical College's data sheet for graduating student survey results. So we have this executive summary of a bunch of data that was collected. We could download this data, and then we could go over to Claude 2, and we could go to the little paperclip upload, and we could select to upload that data, and then we could ask Claude some questions about that. We could ask it to take the attached PDF and summarize some of the key points of the data. Additionally, suggest some follow up surveys that could be administered to identify additional trends. So we're asking it two things here. We're asking it to analyze this PDF and find some interesting trends from it. And then we're asking it to kind of synthesize its findings and think about how what the findings from this PDF could be, iterated on. And let's see what it says. So here we have a breakdown of some of the key data trends from that PDF. Now, this isn't particularly interesting since I'm sure a lot of this stuff is just laid out. Uh, but we can see that it's at least codifying each of these little trends by different themes. This is kind of the more interesting thing where it's coming up with some potential follow up survey designs that fit the theme of our data. Uh, some of the other things that we could do with Claude's uh, like a file upload feature is that we could upload an existing activity design. So let me look at some of the activities that I have stored in my folders. So let's take this world building activity. And let's say I want to use the structure of this activity and we'll just click on it and I'll show you what the basic structure of the activity is. So we have an introduction, we have some activity steps that guide the students through the activity, and then we have some like additional useful prompts. So let's say I want to use the same activity structure, but for a new activity topic. I could ask Claude to utilize the attached activity, take its structure and formatting, and use it to create an activity about local culture in, let's say, Springfield, Mass. Let me zoom in a little bit so it's a little bit easier to read. So here we have it. It's creating our introduction, it's creating our activity steps, and it's breaking it down in the same structure of having numbers for the first tier of heading and letters for the second tier of headings. And it's doing a a pretty decent job at adapting kind of the structure from the other activity to this new topic. The other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about are some of the changes to GPT-4. So this is the ChatGPT interface. And you can see with ChatGPT or GPT-4, we have the options to do default, code interpreter, and plugins. So code interpreter and plugins are relatively new. I think most people have gained access to code interpreter over the last few weeks. And code interpreter is really cool for working with Excel files and also generating Excel files. So let's say we are working with, I don't know, let's say we have like a master schedule sheet for our school that has like the course names, the course departments, like the start date for the class, the end date, the days of the week that that course meets, some course times, as well as some like arbitrary instructor names and credit amounts for each of the courses. Now let's say we wanted to change some element of this, one of the parameters. Let's say instead of having classes meet on Monday, we wanted to shift all the classes that meet on Monday to Saturday. Now this could be done through a macro where we would just type in the code for having Excel automatically do that. But I think most people would go through the painstaking process of manually going through each of the cells and seeing if Monday is present and then modifying Monday to be Saturday. You could do that, but we could also use Code Interpreter to automate a lot of this stuff for us without needing to know how to code in VBA or how to write macros. So what we would do is we would upload this master course schedule to GPT-4 Code Interpreter, and then we would ask it, could you change all of the Mondays? And let me just see what column that is in. The days column to Saturdays. And then it'll just go through the step of accessing the file. And on the back end, what Code Interpreter is doing is it's actually loading all this data, not into Excel, but into Python, because this is the big new change with Code Interpreter is that it's able to run Python code. And so it's converting this Excel file into a format that's accessible to it with Python. Then it's doing the modifications. And the really neat thing that we can do is we can have it output the changes that it makes to a new downloadable Excel file. So we could say, yes, please give me a link to the downloadable file. And let's see if it made the changes we requested. So we have this updated master schedule. And just to give you the comparison, this was our original master schedule where we had all these Mondays. And we can see now all of those Mondays are now Saturdays. We didn't really even need to do anything. We didn't have to write any VBA. We didn't have to write any complex macros. And it was able to do this across our entire spreadsheet. Now, it can do more complicated stuff too, other than do some minor changes and tweaking to our Excel spreadsheets. We could also have it develop visualizations for us. So we could ask it, could you make an interesting visualization from that Excel spreadsheet. And since Code Interpreter has access to all of the Python uh, visualization libraries like Matplotlib, uh, you can actually have it design a visualization right within the browser for you. And let's do a visualization about course duration. And it's cool that it knows, it's able to kind of interpret the data and identify some themes that would be kind of interesting to visualize from that data. And here it is going through the process of developing the plot. Sometimes it can take a little bit to generate the plots, and sometimes it doesn't always get it right. Sometimes it becomes a very iterative process where you are having to do corrections with it and tell it, hey, this isn't exactly what I wanted. Could you tweak this? And usually it is good at making the adjustments that you want. So here it looks like it is plotting a plot versus the start time in the day versus how long that course is in duration. So we have only courses that are an hour long start at 8. At 9 a.m. we have courses that are an hour long and 2 hours long. At 10 a.m. we have a wider range of courses starting at that are 1 hour length, 2 hour length, and 3 hour in length. So not a bad visualization. If we wanted to tweak it a little bit, we could maybe make it. Could maybe do like a heat map instead. I feel like that might to get a sense of how many courses are for each of these durations. But I don't want to spend too much time on this. I wanted to get into the last topic, and that's plugins. And two of the plugins that I wanted to show are the Show Me Diagrams and the Scholar AI. The Show Me Diagrams plugin is pretty neat. And first, plugins are essentially these applications that people outside of OpenAI are able to develop for ChatGPT. So there's like this whole store of different plugins that you can use and download and associate with your ChatGPT environment to accomplish a wide range of different tasks. I think these two are the most interesting available on the store. The first one is Show Me Diagrams, and we can use Show Me Diagrams to create plots and like these system diagrams of whatever we ask ChatGPT to do. So we could ask ChatGPT to create a system diagram of how the characters of, let's say, the Iliad relate to one another. And, I probably spelled Iliad wrong. Let's see. And like with everything else that's AI generated, it won't always do an excellent job the first time. Sometimes you have to help it and to coax the type of performance out of it that you want. And let's see, it's giving us some of the key characters from the Iliad. It's talking about the nature of those relationships. And now let's get into the actual visualization, which I think is the more interesting part. And here we are. We have a systems diagram of how some of the characters relate to one another. I find this can be useful not just for, maybe understanding a book, but also for understanding how like concepts in science work, right? Like how show a predator-prey relationship for an ecosystem in Massachusetts and like see how the animals fit together. Or even just show like a diagram of how a computer works. All of these things I feel like could be potentially helpful for students and also for, us as instructors for getting a quick gist of how something works and fits together. The other plugin that I want to show everyone is the Scholar plugin. The Scholar plugin is good for forcing ChatGPT to find actual sources rather than like made up sources. So we can ask it to find some sources related to, let's say, superconductors. Those are a hot topic right now. And we can see it's using Scholar AI to find some relevant sources. And the great thing with the Scholar AI plugin is that in addition to finding a real source that, is not completely like confabulated, it also gives you the link to that paper. And if a PDF version exists, it'll give you a link to that, so we can click the link just to verify. And so the name of this paper was Topological Insulators and Superconductors, and there we have it, Topological Insulators and Superconductors. We have our authors, which match up, as well as the publication date. So this could be a potential game changer when you are trying to identify, or at least use AI to identify resources. And those are the things that I wanted to cover. I hope everyone is having a great summer. And if I don't see you before classes start, I hope you all have a wonderful start to your semesters.